Great. It shows us on YouTube and Facebook. Right. I know it looks like we already have a couple people that are starting to tune in. I'm almost done sharing this out. So as you are starting to hop on, please make sure that you give us a thumbs up. Start with your comments before we begin momentarily. All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and happy Monday to you. I am Juliette Abdel, President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce, and I'm incredibly excited to always kick off our week with our mayor, who provides us a nice update and overview on all things going on, not only in our community, our county, and of course, our state. But before we transition into that, I like to repeat and regurgitate information that you may already have memorized in the back of your head. If this is your very first time on our page, make sure that you hit the like button and you hit the follow so you can get alerted when we do go live into the future. It will also let you know when we post fresh new content, so you're staying informed on everything that's coming out of our organization. If you are a returning viewer, which I already see a couple of you that are on here with us, thank you so much for coming back to us with our lively broadcast that we've been hosting for nearly a year now. March, of course, is around the time that COVID first started unfolding last year. And one of the very first things that we had produced were our live broadcasts to help adapt our business community to the changing environment that we were seeing. So make sure that you are also continuing to share this out to your network if you find this of value. And we, of course, appreciate you dropping everything that you're doing and connecting with us here on our Facebook page. For those of you that are watching on YouTube or may not know, our videos are not only streamed here on our Facebook platform, they're also streamed on our YouTube channel. That's Westminster Chamber of Commerce. So if you know of anyone who is either not Facebook savvy or maybe is a little bit banned for some of the content that they posted on Facebook, they can still circumvent that and see what's going on by watching us on our YouTube channel. Of course, we're on all social media platforms. That's Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn, Westminster Chamber of Commerce, where we would love to engage with you on that platform. Now, most of you have already seen that we've got a number of people that are already starting to post some comments on our video. Make sure that you familiarize yourself with the comment section. This is where we will engage with you for any questions, any comments that you might share our way, and it's where we like to pull out any shout outs. Because we do this on a continual basis, I love to make this lively, and I can only do that if I'm engaging with the audience that's tuned into the broadcast. So we already see Wayne Anderson providing us a nice, great morning update for the mayor and myself. Good morning to you, Wayne. Hello, hello. I also see our existing, our current board chairman, Peter Brissett, providing us a nice we're coming loud and clear. I don't know if that's like too loud, so let me know if it's too loud. I'll try and simmer down my voice, but good morning to you, Peter. Appreciate you hopping on here. And of course, our past chairman, Brian Head, thank you for tuning into the broadcast and staying engaged on all things going on in our community. I also see Christina. Christina's giving me a thumbs up. So this is another way. If you don't want to type in any comments, you can also give me some reactions. Thumbs up. Hearts make me feel warm and fuzzy, especially with everything that's going on. So you can give that to me as well. And then Parker Brown, good morning to you. Hope you're feeling wonderful and that you are excited to tackle another day with us. So without further ado, you all know that Mondays are reserved for our Mayor Herb Atchison. He provides us updates with COVID numbers, with things that are going on in council, and then, of course, looking at a higher level from city and county and, of course, state. Sometimes he even injects some things from the federal level as they make sense for the dialogue. So if you have any questions for our mayor, please make sure that you type it along the way as he is discussing things. And if you have any comments, we also appreciate those as well. One last thing before I turn it over to Mayor, I see Christy that's hopped on here as well. Good morning to Christy. Thank you for indulging my need for a heart reaction. So, Mayor, I'm turning over to you, and I will mute myself. The floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Juliet. A couple of things that I'll try to cover. I'm going to try to spend some stuff on the state this morning because of concerns we have there. As you all know, tonight is council study session night. Public is not engaged tonight, but this opportunity to listen. There's only a couple of items tonight. Presentation on the Westminster Station area update, a comprehensive plan background presentation. The big one will be the legislative update. And then we will also have a COVID update tonight on what's going on. But I'm going to hit the COVID numbers right quick. These are numbers as just a few minutes ago. So in Jefferson County, as many of you recall, the state authorized Jefferson County to go to blue status last week. Even though they are still considered blue status, they're in yellow numbers. As of about an hour ago, Jefferson County is back over 100. They're at 108 with a positivity rate of 3. And Adams County, which has been maintaining itself in the yellow status, this morning is at 125.1 with a positivity rate of 4.2. So they remain in yellow. No big changes. They dropped 3 points from the previous 4 days. So not a big change in the numbers for Adams, but unfortunately, Jeffco has a few days to get their numbers corrected or they go back to yellow. Again, this is where the 5-star program comes in. If you were in the 5-star program, if they go back to yellow, you still stay in blue. And under the state, even though we were in blue last week, they did not allow restaurants or businesses to go to the green status because of the vaccines. There is still a lot of information going on about the vaccines. I will still encourage you to use the test center for COVID testing at the Fat Cats site. There is plenty of capacity there. My understanding is that we're running about 100 a day. So what we're going to talk about is also that in the 15th of this month, it was announced last Thursday that Adams County will be opening up a mass vaccination center out at the soccer fields, and all of a sudden the sports complex, Dick's Sporting Field, is where it's going to be at. That was announced last Thursday, starting on the 15th of this month. So that will be a big piece of what we're seeing over there. So we talked really quickly about just the council needs, but I want to go on to some things that are very concerning about the legislature. And where was I? Just saw a question. Brian, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think you're looking at, and we'll see something of what we're going to be discussing.
Do you want me to go ahead and pull this up and read it your way, Mayor?
Just leave it there and I'll try to respond to it.
Okay.
What I'm concerned about is a bill that was introduced this past week. The leadership of Jefferson County, being all the mayors, county commissioners, and the sheriff and police departments, met about 2 weeks ago about this pending bill. This is Senate Bill 21062. And the official position, the Senate lead, Senator Lee and Representative Benavides are doing the bill that's concerning measures to reduce jail populations. Now, we saw some of this in the COVID period where we've had to reduce jail populations because of infections. But let me tell you what this bill is proposing, which has got most of us not concerned, but scared. This is a very big deal in putting criminals back on the street. The Senate Bill 21062 proposes to require that after a physical arrest of a person for all non-domestic violence, Traffic offenses, petty offenses, municipal offenses, misdemeanor offenses are class 4, 5, and 6 felonies. An offender must be immediately released from custody without being taken to jail. There is a limited exception for Victims' Rights Act crimes, but only if certain additional conditions are met. Furthermore, the bill prohibits a court from issuing a monetary condition of bond for said offenses unless the court finds a substantial risk that the defendant will flee prosecution and will threaten the safety of another person. Additionally, it requires the court to issue a personal recognizance bond for a defendant that fails to appear in court unless the person has already failed to appear 3 times.
Wow.
Courts also must impose or issue a personal recognizance bond for all probation violations unless the alleged violation is a new crime. Lastly, the bill gives sheriffs the authority to keep jail populations as low as possible by establishing offense-based jail admission standards. Now, we saw an example of this during the COVID time when they had to reduce jail populations because of the infections and the need to give space in the jails. During the course of the pandemic, several measures such as an offense-based administration standards and bond conditions have been put in place. As a result, the city has seen the impacts firsthand, including increases in 2021 in crimes in which offenders are immediately released after an arrest, including motor vehicle thefts, which were up 44%.
Wow.
Larceny was up 31%. Burglary up 13%. And overall crime was up 5%. This bill will also have serious ramifications related to domestic violence cases and the city's domestic violence prevention program. The sheriff may elect not to accept people who are arrested on DV cases if they choose, and the cities would have no recourse. So let me give you a couple of examples. The effects of some of these changes have already been seen early in 2020. A defendant was arraigned in Westminster Municipal Court on the charge of violating a domestic violence protection order. The defendant also had other pending domestic violence and child abuse charges in another jurisdiction. A cash bond was set, and the defendant was required to set up on a GPS monitoring. Later, the defendant failed to appear and subsequently deactivated the GPS unit. The court issued a warrant for the defendant's arrest with a cash surety bond attached. Several months later, the defendant's bondman arrested him and attempted to turn him into a Denver metro area county jail. However, the sheriff had instituted a policy that municipal warrants for failure to appear would not be accepted due to COVID. This is the same kind of restriction that Senate Bill 62 will permit even in the absence of a global pandemic emergency. Under this offense-based admission standard, the defendant was released back into the community. 2 months later, while still wanted, the defendant was charged with assault, second-degree strangulation, assault, second-degree serious bodily injury, and assault third degree. 2 weeks later, he was charged with burglary and first-degree trespass. Only then was the defendant placed back in custody. Other examples have occurred, and one defendant was arrested for motor vehicle theft, drug-related charges, obstruction, resisting arrest, harassment, and had 12 other warrants for his arrest. This defendant did not meet the criteria for jail and was released. Another defendant who bonded out of jail on attempted murder charges was arrested 3 weeks later for motor vehicle thefts and operating a chop shop. Even after confessing to the subsequent crimes, he was released. He had also accumulated additional warrants. These examples involve Class 4 felonies. Under the provision of this bill, emergency standards necessitated by the pandemic will not be broadly codified in the law. This is just downright scary that we have people who are being arrested. I want you to think about if you're sitting in your home, your wife and your children at home, if someone breaks into your home and threatens your family, robs you, goes out the door, gets caught by a police officer, they're going to get a ticket, but they're not going to jail. If they don't show up for the court date, they get to miss at least 3 court dates before a warrant will be issued for them. This kind of stuff going on at the legislature with no thought of public safety and what it appears to be. Now, let me clarify really strongly. These are my comments. These are not the comments of the city. But this bill will be discussed tonight as to where the city will take a stand. And the council members will make a decision on whether they support the bill, they oppose the bill, or they oppose it with modifications. This type of stuff is putting you, your families, and the general public, in my opinion, in an unsafe condition. We have already reduced the populations of the Jefferson and Adams County jails because of COVID. This bill would take and reduce it even further than what COVID has. Why do we have jails if we can't put people who are threats to public safety in jail? And what are we going to do when you, the citizens, very much like Brian asked, we're seeing huge jumps of numbers of what's happening in criminal activity during this COVID period alone, because we're not able to put people in jail who probably should be there. Now, are there opportunities for people to avoid jail through bonding and stuff? Yes. But when you still have people who are getting bonds, supposed to be wearing tracking devices, and they take them off, and then we still can't put them back in jail. I'm asking you to think about this. And if you understand, please get yourself a copy of Senate Bill 21062. Take a look at it. And if you agree that there is a likelihood of a threat against the public, I highly encourage you to contact the Jefferson County and Adams County representatives and senators to let them know strongly that you object to this bill in its current form. And without serious modifications, you could not support this bill.
Well, thank you, Mayor, for going in detail and really providing not only an answer to Brian's question, giving us some statistics that I've tried to capture. I mean, really astonishing numbers from car thefts all the way up to burglaries. I've tried to include all of those statistics. And I know I'm not alone to say, you know, in the last probably week and a half, I've had 3 car thefts in the area that I live in. And it's, it's something that's very scary when you think about your safety and your well-being. The mayor just went over, for those of you that are just now hopping onto the broadcast, and I see Debbie Teeter on here. I also see our past board chairman, Brian Dice. I see Councilor DeMont. All of you, thank you for hopping onto the broadcast. The mayor has gone over kind of what's going to be shared at study session. He went in detail about COVID numbers and some of those changes as it relates to Jeffco over the last week. There's been a slight increase, still technically in the blue dial area, according to CDPHE. And of course, the Adams County COVID numbers still still keeping us at the yellow. I'm losing my voice. But anyhow, he has transitioned us into answering a question that was posed by Brian Head, and that related to some of the thefts that were going on in the area, not only in his neighborhood, I know in some of the other areas as well. Debbie had gone in and had also commented at the very same time and said next door is reporting 160 thefts just south of Legacy here in Westminster, and then 2 daytime break-ins on Bradburn last week alone. So the mayor did go in detail about Senate Bill 21-062. This is a bill that's currently been presented or introduced at the state capitol. It's concerning a measure to reduce the jail population. He has given us a background overview of how the numbers in the jails were already decreased due to COVID, as many of you remember from our earlier broadcasts. If you don't, we have all those videos available to you at any point in time to go back and rewatch. But this new bill, which he's given us high-level views of, I've actually included the link for you directly. I know the mayor just shared, if this is something that sparks in your mind and you want to know more about it and read it verbatim, I have pulled that for you, and I've actually posted it into the comment section of this broadcast. So you can find that PDF as it relates to the latest version. Know that some of these may change moving forward, but as of now, this is the current one that's out there and as it reads. We do see that Christina has also shared, this is a sad time because she does feel for our officers and the safety of our professionals, especially during this time when we look at this type of bill. And even last session, when we looked at another bill that related to police officers and body cams that were on them and some of those things. Lalenia has gone in and was kind of asking what we can do to stop this. Lalenia, I know the mayor has not only directed, look for the bill text, contacts ADCO and JEFCO representatives. I know that you are also plugged into our organization, so very similar to council and how they generally review and will take positions. Our chamber will also be taking positions on bills coming up next week. So on March the 9th is generally where we have our Government Affairs Committee meeting, and so we will be taking positions on bills similar to this if you are interested in plugging in on that and helping to further the needle. Councillor DeMont has also voiced kind of his opposition on this bill as well, Mayor, and just kind of in a nutshell said that he agrees with the comments that you've made and believes that this is not great. Looks like another comment from Debbie. Debbie's also agreeing with you, Mayor. She is asking for contact information that's there. So what we'll do, Debbie, and Mayor, did you want to hop in here before I hog up?
The only thing I would tell you is all of our elected representatives, Senator Zinzinger, Representative Doherty for Jeffco, Senator Winter, and Representative Byrd for Adams County, as well as Senator Moreno.
Yes.
Get messages to all 5 of those elected officials that you are objecting to this bill. But don't just take my word for it. I want you to look at it, make your own determination. But I will tell you, myself and the council will make a decision on it tonight, but I will be strongly opposing the bill unless they do some amendments. Now, the whole bill in itself is not bad, but for the most part of it, I have a strong objection to it, and I'm hoping the council will see it the same way tonight. But it can be fixed, as any legislation that's bad can be fixed most of the time. But we need at least the opportunity. But if the people who sponsor these bills are so set that they will not talk to groups, and to my understanding, there are groups out there that are strongly in favor of this. We have to counter those strongly in favor with more common sense approach to our public safety. And many times we found those people who are in support of this are not even residents of our cities, much less the state.
Right.
So these are the kind of things that we have to combat. You have to get involved through your chamber, through your personal contacts with legislators. If nothing else, send them an email that you don't support the bill in the current form. But you can't wait too long. These things are going to move very fast through the legislature. These things could be on the governor's desk within weeks. So make sure that you are responsive, do your homework, look at the bill. If you don't agree with my comments, that's absolutely okay. But we have got to make sure we can do everything we can to protect our citizens.
Absolutely. And once again, I've included the link for the bill in detail so you guys have a chance to kind of see it, as well as the summary that's included at the very top. But just to kind of do a deep dive and read the text and see where the mayor's perspective and some of the information that he shared this morning, how that aligns with it. And as he's repeated numerous ways that we can get you plugged in and advocating if this is something that you feel very passionate about, whether you are single, a family, or retired, or just widowed. This is something that you should consider. Your public safety is important. We do also see Councillor Seymour that's on here. Thank you, Councillor, for hopping on. He's just given us a nice message of a good discussion this morning that we had as it relates, of course, to the bill, some of the comments for study session, and as it relates to some of the COVID numbers as well. Lalenia is also giving you a nice thank you, Mayor, for answering her question earlier. And then it looks like this comment came in from Peter Brissett. This relates to the 5-star program. He was saying, can we go to blue for 5-star if 70% of 70 plus had their vaccination statewide, or thought that's what Tri-County. Okay, so he's asking as it relates to the blue, if it was 70% of 70 plus people.
Well, keep in mind, which county are we talking about? And he's talking about Tri-County, which is Adams.
Right.
We still can't get the number below the 100 to even be there. And we haven't been able to hold it for the 7-day period. So until those numbers get below 100, you can't even consider going to blue. Excellent. Now, the state is still saying that even if you can get to blue, your restaurants, your businesses and stuff, under the 5-star program, they can go one level below the county. If the county goes to blue, like Jefferson County did, you still cannot go to green unless you meet these vaccination numbers, and that's based upon the state order. And Peter is absolutely correct. You still got to get to 70% of 70. What I will tell you is that Jeffco reached that number last week. 70% of the 70-year-old plus got their vaccinations as of last week. Adams County has not got there.
Yeah.
But we still have that issue to deal with. Another piece I wanted to update people on, a couple of things going on. The next 2 weekends, council will be in session. We will be in an executive session most of the day on Saturday. We have a number of people who will be interviewed for the municipal judge position, and that takes place on Saturday. Now, this is a personnel matter, so it is not open to the public. The following weekend, the 13th and 14th, we will be in an open session where people can listen in, and that won't be for the strategic plan for 2022. So those two for the next 2 weekends, council will be working 6 and 7 days a week for the next 2 weeks, and on top of the stuff that they have to do during the day or during the week.
Well, thank you so much for serving, Mayor. I know, we're in these roles not so much because we know how easy they are, but because we have this heart and approach to support our community and listen to the needs of everyone that makes it up and do our part in making sure that it's the best that it can be. So we definitely appreciate you putting in those long hours and back to those seven day a week times as well. We have a few more minutes left for those of you that are hopping on or have been on the broadcast with us and maybe either have a comment on any of the content that the mayor has shared. You can type it in, or any questions, you can do so right now so I can take that up for you before we close this out. Sometimes you guys post it right as I'm closing out, so I don't see it until a little bit later. The mayor has also gone in detail about both of our test sites still at Waterworld and of course at Fat Cats that are available for you to go do testing out there if you are still interested in that. Of course, still COVID is around, and if that is a concern of yours or if you're not feeling well, keep that in mind. Mayor, were there additional comments that you wanted to make past what you already have for our audience before I start wrapping this out?
The last thing I would ask is, people, please, if you're getting your test, get to one of the 2 sites supported by Westminster. Our site at Fat Cats has got a very low set of numbers. We're barely making 100 a day. That's set up for over 1,000. We can't keep sites open if people aren't using them. So I would, again, get the word out to your friends, your neighbors, employees, family, whatever, that if they need a site, please go to that site, because I understand it's kind of off the beaten path, but it is something that's as far in the northern part of Jefferson County as we were able to get it. So encourage your friends and those you know to use it. Absolutely. Julia, that's it.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of add to what you just shared, Mayor. These tests are so fast. So don't worry about the time that's behind it. Worry about getting out there if that's a resource that you need. Can't emphasize that enough, especially if you end up traveling somewhere. I know I've had to leave the area immediate, and I generally will try and do one before I go and whenever I come back, just to be sure that everything is kosher on my end. So believe it or not, we're nearly to our 30-minute mark. You guys have some homework as it relates to this bill that we just discussed. And of course, many of the updates regarding COVID testing, some of the numbers that are there. Thank you for doing your part and in making sure that you are healthy, well, and still continuing on with your daily activities. So we appreciate that immensely. As you guys know, we wrapped up our We Love Westy sweepstakes. We posted the winners on Friday, so you can find that post at any point in time. And stay tuned, as Small Business Week is going to be coming up, and we'll likely be doing a couple of newer things around that as well. Before I close out, we'll be back to our live broadcast schedule. We at least have a few more plans for this week, including one with the Office of Economic Development. Glenn, as many of you are aware, Glenn used to be with the SBDC up north, and he has a wealth of information on different programs that the office has posted out, some facts and some statistics, of course, welcoming some of our newer members and providing you additional updates as well. Yes, Lelenia, congrats to the winners. It's really exciting to see, and I think it warms my heart all the time whenever when it's a child, right? And so there was one that it was a little kid that he won, and when we asked him how he would spend it, he said, I'm going to give it to my siblings as well. And I think that just shows what we all can do a little bit better of, is being mindful of everyone else that's around us, being respectful and supportive to that. So on that note, I ask that you share this out with others. If you are watching this later on, give us a hashtag replay. Enjoy the Monday. And thank you so much, Mayor, for being on here with us.